They called it a shortcut, a sleek new bridge to link their tightly controlled neighborhood to the main road, saving a measly half-minute on their daily drives. The catch? It carved straight through my land, spanned my river, and was built on the ruins of a sturdy, historic stone bridge they'd conveniently, accidentally, torn down. When their shiny, slapdash structure met a spectacular end during its so-called stress test, their first move was to point their polished fingers at me. If you've ever tangled with an HOA president who thinks their word is law, you'll know the kind of battle I was in for. If not, hold on tight. This tale of stolen land, calculated case, and sweet justice will blow your mind. Best of all? They could never pin a thing on me. My property wasn't just dirt and trees. It was my sanctuary, a deliberate escape from the petty rules of places like the neighboring Willow Creek estates. That name always cracked me up. No willows, no creeks, just the constant buzz of lawnmowers and the sharp edge of neighborhood squabbles drifting over the fence. I bought this land years ago for its winding river, ancient forest, and a small, private hydroelectric dam upstream, a relic of true self-reliance. The dam didn't power a town, but it gave me control over the river's flow, a duty I handled with care for the ecosystem, and, as it turned out, for some rather creative purposes. The old bridge, the one Willow Creek's HOA deemed an eyesore, was a charming stone and timber structure built by the previous owner's great-grandfather. It was rustic but solid, serving hikers and a small, pre-HOA community for decades without issue. It sat mostly on my land, with a tiny sliver on what became HOA property when Willow Creek sprouted up. I maintained my side. They were supposed to maintain theirs, but rarely did more than glare at it. A faded easement agreement allowed its existence, which the HOA conveniently ignored when it suited them. For years, we coexisted in uneasy peace. I'd spot their perfectly aligned trash bins from a distance, hear their leaf blowers, or find a soggy HOA newsletter stuck to my fence after a storm. Their presence was a nuisance, but I cherished my solitude, the river's murmur, the forest's rustle, free from bylaws about mailbox colors. The dam, hidden among the trees, was my silent guardian. Mastering its mechanics, its response to every tweak of the sluice gates, was a labor of love. It was raw power, worlds apart from the shallow authority of Willow Creek's HOA and its new president, Karen. Call me Madam President, Thompson. Karen was the type to starch her yoga pants and treat stray weeds like a personal attack. Her flawless blonde bob defied the wind, and her voice could sour milk from across a field. My wild riverbanks and weathered bridge must have been a direct insult to her vision of suburban utopia. Trouble started with a glossy flyer tucked under a rock near my driveway, an invitation to an HOA community meeting about neighborhood enhancements. I nearly tossed it, thinking it was another debate over lawn ornaments, but something made me pause. Rumors from hardware store chats with saner Willow Creek residents hinted at Karen's grand plans for modernizing infrastructure. Those words sound harmless until they're aimed at your land. The meeting was in their sterile clubhouse, reeking of bleach and suppressed rage. I sat in the back, an outsider among khaki-clad conformity. Karen, in a power suit that screamed boardroom, unveiled a PowerPoint with a rendering of a sleek, multi-lane bridge slicing across a river that looked eerily like mine. My stomach dropped. The old bridge was gone in her vision, replaced by this concrete monstrosity. This, Karen declared, is the Willow Creek Expressway, boosting property values and ensuring emergency access. The crowd cooed in approval. She dismissed the old bridge as a hazardous relic. My bridge a hazard? Fury simmered in my chest. I raised my hand during the cuvée. Karen's smile tightened. Karen, I said, deliberately casual, that bridge crosses my private property and destroys a historic structure with legal easements. The room went silent. Her eyes narrowed. We'll offer nominal compensation for any inconvenience, she snapped, as if my land were a minor annoyance. Nominal? For carving up my sanctuary? There will be no bridge without my written consent, I said firmly. And I do not consent, Karen's face turned beet red. This is for the community, she hissed, implying I was a selfish loner. The meeting ended with her dodging me. The HOA's pressure campaign followed, vague legal threats, fabricated, eminent domain claims, and surveyors skulking at my property line. I hired a lawyer, Emily, a no-nonsense pro who loved cutting through arrogance. She sent a cease and desist letter, but the HOA went quiet, too quiet. Then came the day I heard a sickening crack echo through the valley. Racing to the river, I found my historic bridge in ruins, its stones and timbers scattered in the water. On the HOA side stood Karen, smirking, with board members and a demolition crew. Structural failure during a safety check, she cooed, her voice dripping with fake pity. The churned-up ground and heavy tools told a different story. My bridge hadn't collapsed, it was murdered. I snapped photos, called the sheriff, and got Deputy Harris, who shrugged. No proof of foul play, he said, buying Karen's tale of a spontaneous collapse. Her stack of resident complaints about the bridge's condition, news to me, sealed the deal. Emily was livid but strategic. Proving sabotage was tough, so we focused on stopping their new bridge. Another cease and desist went out, banning any work on my land. For a moment, it seemed to work. Then, one morning, the roar of excavators woke me. They were building on my land. I sprinted to the riverbank, where Karen, in a comically oversized hard hat, directed a crew like a wannabe general. "You're trespassing!" I shouted. She smirked. "Progress, darling." Their permit, I later learned, was a shady half-truth for bank stabilization, on their side, not bridge building on mine. The sheriff, again, called it a civil matter. Court was my only option, but lawsuits take time, and Karen was banking on outlasting me with legal fees. Their ugly bridge grew daily, cheap steel, shoddy concrete, a design that screamed disaster. Its low, bulky piers choked the river, begging for trouble in a storm. I warned the foreman, who just shrugged. Not my call. Emily filed for an emergency injunction, but the courts were slow. I documented everything, photos, drone footage, and recordings, showing their corner cutting and subpar materials. The contractor had a rap sheet of failed projects. Meanwhile, I studied my dam, its sluice gates, and its power. I could legally increase the river's flow for maintenance, or flood prevention. A strong, controlled surge could test that flimsy bridge, nothing extreme, just enough to expose its flaws. It was a risky idea, but their arrogance had pushed me too far. The HOA announced a grand opening for their Willow Creek Expressway, with a ribbon cutting and barbecue, set for Saturday, 2 days before my court hearing. They wanted a finished bridge to sway the judge. The forecast predicted rain Sunday night, perfect for my plan, a pre-storm, reservoir adjustment, to stress test their bridge. I prepped the dam, checking gates and calculating flows. It had to look natural, like the river simply rejected their junk. Saturday dawned bright. From my property, I heard their off-key brass band and saw balloons bobbing. Karen, probably in a sash, was no doubt basking in glory. I'd scouted a hidden vantage point with a clear view of the bridge. At 10 a.m., as Karen's speech echoed, I turned the sluice wheel. The dam rumbled, releasing a steady, powerful flow, not a flood, but a firm push. I settled in with binoculars. The river quickened, its surface churning. A log caught in the current, slammed into a pier. The bridge shuddered. Heads turned. The water rose, lapping the low beams. Debris piled up, straining the structure. A low groan cut through the band's faltering notes. Then a crack, sharp, final. The crowd froze. A pier tilted, the deck sagged, and with a wrenching screech, the bridge collapsed. Steel twisted, concrete sank, and the river roared through the wreckage. In 90 seconds, Karen's dream was rubble. She stood, pale and hat askew, as chaos erupted. I eased the sluice shut, letting the river calm. No one was hurt, my only real worry. The evidence of my test vanished with the current. The aftermath was pure pandemonium. Sirens wailed, deputies swarmed, and Deputy Harris visited me. "They're saying the river surged," he said, eyeing me. I sipped tea calm. "I did a routine dam release for maintenance, especially with rain coming. If their bridge couldn't handle that, it wasn't built right." He left, unconvinced but empty-handed. The HOA sued, claiming I'd sabotaged them. Their lawyer, Greg, spun a tale of me as a vengeful recluse, but they had no proof. Emily countered with my dam logs, showing normal operations, and my footage of their shoddy work. Our expert Dr. Larson tore their bridge apart: bad design, cheap materials, rushed job. Even their expert admitted flaws. In court, Greg's bluster crumbled. Karen's tearful testimony, calling me a villain, fell apart under Emily's cross-examination, exposing her illegal moves and ignored warnings. The judge, stern but fair, ruled in my favor. No evidence of malice, she said, citing the bridges, gross defects, and the HOA's reckless trespass. She dismissed their case, ordered them to pay my legal fees, clean up the debris, and never build on my land again. The HOA imploded. Karen fled town, rumors said, after residents revolted over the wasted funds. The river healed, its banks green again. I never rebuilt a bridge. They'd lost that privilege. This wasn't just a win, it was a warning. Know your rights, document everything, and don't let bullies like Karen push you around. Sometimes, nature, with a nudge, sets things right. What do you think? Was my stress test justice or revenge? Drop a comment with your take on this showdown or your own HOA horror story. Hit that like button and subscribe for more tales of standing your ground. Let's keep the conversation going.